Hello. We've got Daniel Ben Regesh on for one more segment about his autobiography and life. And I think you want to talk about what tonight?
I'd like to talk about me going abroad
You've been a
to,
lot of places, I guess.
yes, I have. I've been to England. I have been to Spain. I have been to Norway. I have been to South Africa, and I have been to South Korea. I have been to Germany, and I have been to France. And think one of the most funniest things that I have ever done. Well, let's first talk about why I got the opportunity to travel to these places. As many of you know, that I played football and I also wrestled. I wrestled in high school. We really started wrestling in junior high school. Wrestled in high school. Of course, you know there was the accident where I had a setback of several years. And then after I was able to recover, I was able to resume wrestling as someone who was visually impaired. It's much different because everything is on movement and feel rather than sight. And so I developed um, this technique to be able to wrestle, also to do the martial arts as a blind person. And so I got good enough to resume wrestling and to somewhat be able to pick up right where I left off when I had my accident.
I could see how you could do wrestling without your sight.
It's very easy.
How about
It's
baseball?
oh no. Well, actually, there's a thing called beat baseball, and yes, you could play it.
Oh, that's right. I've heard of that. Where the ball
Yeah,
beeps.
yes, the ball beats, but I've tried it a couple of times, but I'm too afraid of it because I'm still afraid of being hit and
Sure.
not being able to defend myself. So I didn't do that. There's a thing that visually impaired people play. It's called goal ball, and that is where a ball is slung from end to end, and you have two teams, and you have various techniques where you stop it and roll it back. It's almost like soccer, and I did that for a while. Did very well at that, but I think by far the biggest thing that I was able to accomplish was in the sport of wrestling. I was so good in the sport of wrestling that I got an opportunity and scholarship offers to wrestle at Duke, to wrestle at American University, Holy Cross, um, Iowa, um, the University of North Carolina, um, where my nephew played football, and schools like that. I was a big person that was a supporter of the South, and I actually refused opportunities to wrestle at Northern and Western colleges because I love the South. I grew up in the South, and so I wanted to represent the South. But after that accident, I still was in the process of rehabbing, so I wasn't really ready to attend college until 1994. So what I did is, in the meeting in between, I got hooked up with the AAU, and that is amateur. That's an amateur program for very good athletes that will probably go on to the next level, or even to go on to do sports, whether it be basketball, football, wrestling, whatever, professionally. And while doing AAU, I got an opportunity to represent the United States of America in several international competitions. And this is why I got an opportunity to go to these various countries. I'll tell you about a couple of these countries that I got to travel to. I talked about them. I gave you a list at the top of the podcast here. But during one of these trips, I had the opportunity to meet the Queen of England at Buckingham Palace. And that was a very awesome experience for me because I got to meet the Queen, not only the Queen, but I got an opportunity to meet the person who would become, who was probably going to become King of England. So that, of course, he was a little at the time, but now here we are watching these two, William and Harry. Harry's just confused, and I don't know what's going to happen with him, but it's probably going to be King William. That's probably going to be, William's probably going to be the King of England. So not many people can say that they have gone abroad and met royalty. And I've got that opportunity. And it's very interesting because when you go to meet the king, queen of a nation, you have to go through months of classes. I don't know if you know that, Jack.
No.
You have to go through months of classes because there's a lot of protocols. They have to teach you how to dress at whatever occasion that you're going to be having your audience. If there's a banquet, which there was, they have to teach you again how to dress, how to eat, so you're not eating over there, eating like Henry VIII. Because you are eating there with dignitaries, okay? It's not just the Queen of England. It's not just the royal family, but you're eating with the Lord Mayor of London. You're eating with the Prime Minister, representatives of the British aristocracy, and also the United States aristocracy as well. So you go through months of classes and months of preparation. I think the most moving for me was the ceremonies that you go through just to get an audience with the Queen. I mean, they have to, I told you about these classes where they have to teach you how to, when to stand, when to sit, when to bow. You go and you meet the Queen and they tell you, do not touch anybody. They will touch you. Okay? Don't go out and just say, oh my gosh, it's the king, it's the Queen of England. You know, you don't do that. They will, so the security services will hustle you out of there and you'll probably be put out of the country. And that's an embarrassment to you. It's an embarrassment to the country. So I went to that, and it was a very good audience I had. She talked with me. The members of the royal family talked with me. And we talked about, of course, the reason why I was there in the first place, and that was to represent the United States in the sport of wrestling. We just had it was in preparation for a tournament that we had. It's called the All Europe Tournament, and which, believe it or not, I took third.
Well, that's good. Wow.
I took third, but I lost in a knockdown drag out. I tell you what, they didn't tell me this. I was a youngster, and I had the opportunity of wrestling the 3-time all-European champion and almost beating him. Okay? That man, I mean, I threw the kitchen sink, the Yankees, the Confederacy, everything that I could throw at him, and he still beat me. I don't know what they give those people over there in England. I mean, in Italy, but I'm like, stay down.
What country was he from?
He was from Italy. As a matter of fact, he is now a United States citizen. He's a citizen of the United States, Hans Bear. And he's probably retired coaching now. But he was a senior and I was young. And trust me, my age showed. Jack, you know, I mean, we were in this match stayed tied for 5 minutes. And it went into 3 overtimes, 2 minutes apiece. And at the end of that match, I lost that match simply because of youth, because he had me in the hole and I broke loose from the hole. And had I stayed on the ground, I could have beat him because I got a point for escape. All I had to do was escape from him, stay low, and I win the match. And I go home, probably going to end up getting beat in the finals, because I tell you what, some of the foreign countries, they are tough. And so I probably would have lost in the finals, but I got in the third round of the round for third and fourth, and second and third, I think. And one youthful mistake cost me a match.
Because you got
haunted
up?
me. Yeah, because I got up. You got the point of us for escaping from there. But what I did not do is protect my lower body. And he was already down there, but all he had to do is to plant his feet, lay his head into my side, and take me down. Bang, that's two. He got 2 points for my 1 point match. It's over. I just lost to the old European champion, who would go on to win the whole thing again.
Just by 1 point.
Just by 1 point. And
what was the age difference?
Huh?
You said he was older or more experienced?
He was both older and both more experienced. See, in Europe, these people start wrestling when they're 5 and 6 years old. So he's got several years on me. Here I am, 16, 17 years old, and this guy is a senior. He's about 19.
Mm-hmm.
And I beat him once. Jack, when the match was over, you know the first thing he did? He went over to the side and threw his guts out. Threw up his guts. And you know what he told me at the end of that?
What?
You know what he told me? He said, "You beat the hell out of me." That's right.
Well, if the champ had to go and throw up at the end, I guess.
Yeah. He was good.
The match of his life.
This stuff was his life, and I mean, he became world renowned as a wrestler in college, and now he's coaching. And like I said, I think he may retire. I've talked to him since he's come to the United States. I met with him, and I'm like, look at you. Everybody laughs about that match. And to this very day, both sides laugh about that match because, boy, they saw my face and I was mad. I was mad when I stood there and I looked at because basically what I did is I lost my decision. And I had to stand there, you know, you go to the tip of the what you call it and you wait on your scores. That's the way they do it over there. And I'm looking at this thing, 1 freaking point. I was burnt up. Now, I'm going to tell you something about me. We had also Russian competitors, people from the Eastern Bloc. Now, of course, I shook hands with people from England. I think the people that I liked the most was the South Koreans. The Germans were pretty cool, but there were countries that we wrestled that I refused to shake their hand. I wore a face mask, and what I would do is you go to the line, you take your face mask off, and you stick it down there, and they knew, tap the face mask, don't shake my hand. But and the reason why, and they asked the media asked me, they asked me, why did you refuse to shake hands with the Russians? And I told them, this is a 16, 17-year-old kid, because you don't shake hands with people you're in a state of war with. And that was true. But I had to
aware of that.
but you know what? I had to repent from that later on. You know why? Because later on, I'm thinking about that as I've come into this Hebrew mindset. Those could have been Jewish brothers.
Could have been.
Those could have been my Jewish brothers. And I'm standing up there wearing the red, white, and the blue while I'm like, yeah, whatever, you know, yeah, USA, USA. And I'm going to tell you something. The thing that I saw when they would go up to the victory stand, whether it be from Czechoslovakia, whether it be from Bulgaria, whether it be from Romania, whether it be from Russia, whether it be from East Germany. Remember, I wrestled at a time that the Cold War was hot and heavy, okay? And I had my accident at the time where those things were changing, okay? So my freshman, sophomore, junior year, I wrestled these individuals as enemies. Now, I was able to wrestle in 1990, 91, 92. So things were changing in these countries, and there were a lot more. I think after the wall came down, things began to change dramatically. But before that wall came down, it was very known that there was a state of war between the United States and the Eastern Bloc countries, even in the field of athletics. So I would watch these people, Jack, when they would come to the victory stand with after a match or depending those Eastern Bloc countries, and I watched them, and they played the national anthem, and I watched them, and I'm like, why the tears? I asked one of the coaches, why the tears for the commentary? Bum ba bum bum ba dum ba bum bum ba dum ba bum bum ba bum, and their hand would be up like this here. And see, that's the thing. You know, we think of Nazism like this here,
Yeah.
right? And this is the fascist right here. But Russia was just the same thing. When people would be on the victory stand like this, their hand would be up like this. And the tears that would be in their eyes, it didn't matter whether it was East Germany, it didn't matter whether it was Bulgaria, it didn't matter whether it was Romania, Hungary. These people had tears, and I'm like, these people must be outside their mind. I turned to a coach and asked why. And they told me, you know what they told me? The same way you are proud of your nation, they are proud of their nation, no matter what their history is.
Of course.
Okay. And that was a very big lesson that I learned. That while I was proud when they played bum ba bum 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 ba bum 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 bum, you know, I was proud to hear that song. But I tell you who's what's recorded I really love to hear the English national anthem. So a lot of times they'll play My Country, Tennessee, or not My Country, Tennessee, God Save the Queen. And I didn't know, but after I met with the Queen, whenever, if you notice, I don't know if you noticed this, but whenever the English are up on the victory stand, the American wrestlers, the American athletes would all stand in solidarity with Britain. Always.
That's amazing.
For as long as I was, because it's the truth. You know, America and Britain, they are drawn by the hip. You know, we talk about, we've been talking about the Kelly Day, and we're talking about Anglicanism and the Kelly Day, and how, and you could see that, yeah, I could see that connection. So I've gotten a chance to go there, but I tell you, the thing that I really love about England, and it's not even about meeting the Queen and the royal family. The most exciting thing I got to experience in England was the Scottish Highlanders. That is awesome. Have you ever seen that ceremony where they come out?
Yeah,
the changing of the guard. That is awesome. We got an opportunity to experience that when they came out, and they put us in place where we were going to be right in the middle of them. The bagpipes and those, and I'm a drummer at heart. And so I'm like, wow, this is, I thought, I was like, whoa, this is exciting. And they tell you want to reach out, you want to touch them, and they tell you, do not touch them. They're going to do the shift, and then they're going to come and they're going to talk to you and hang out with. We got to spend 3-4 hours with these people. We went to the barracks. We saw how they dress. and got to check out the boots and all this stuff. The Highlanders have these long boots and they have spikes on them. And when I hear those boots in unison, I'm one of those people that's moved by that type of stuff. And I'm like, this is awesome. You got to talk to the people. I'm like, you think of the Scottish people are people in dresses, those kilts.
Yes.
And I'm like, these are not people in kilts, because sometimes they do the kilt. They do that when they change the guard. But a lot of times they're in full dress. And what do they wear? They wear blacks. They're like, let me give you a something that they're kin to. The Mountain Division out of Fort Drum, New York. You know about them?
No.
That's the Army Mountain Division. They fight in mountainous terrain. They do all their training in the mountains and things like that. They went to Afghanistan. So did the Highlanders. And so I've been following them for a number of years. And so I'm a big fan of the Scottish Highlanders. So I really enjoyed that part of my trip to England. We stayed over there for about 2 or 3 weeks. France, you ever been to France?
Yes, I have.
Have you been to the shops in the Champs-Élysées?
I never got to Paris.
Never got there. Oh my goodness. It's a nice place. They have very good foods. You need to be, well, if you're going there as a Hebrew believer, you need to be careful, because some of their stuff is not clean, if you know what I mean. They eat very differently than we do, but I tell you, they eat a lot in France. They eat a lot in France. Same thing in Germany too.
I know when I spent time in England, the hit of the day was to have breakfast.
Absolutely. Yes, I remember that. Breakfast was all off the chain. Where did you go in England? Did you get to go down Whitehall?
Well, I went to London, and I went to Kent, and I went up to the north of England as well. I was there 3 times. Usually one time was I went as a Methodist ambassador, and the other time I went over there kind of like you when I was in high school in a symphonic orchestra, and we toured all over the place. But yes, I have been in situations that you were treated very, very well.
Yes, exactly.
Those English breakfasts, the only problem with them was that they caused gas to collect.
Yeah, they did. Oh, you're right.
We've got those bangers.
Yes.
Bangers and eggs and grease and a lot of pudding or something that you blow with.
Uh-huh.
The pudding by itself is so good.
Oh my goodness. And they have a lot of things. Have you gone to any of the did you get a chance to go to any of the jousting exhibitions?
No, I never saw anything like that.
Yeah, I got an opportunity to go to them. They're very good with the theaters and stuff like that. I like that. A lot of people don't know that about me, that I really like classical, symphonic, and theaters. I'm not going to the theaters. And they have, I'm telling you, the tourist scene there in England was very exciting to me. I mean, you got a chance to see all of the things that England has to offer. I mean, it's like, wow. You got a chance to see a lot of the memorials. We got a chance to,
go over to Westminster Abbey.
Yeah, I was just getting ready to tell you about that. That I've been, I was looking at the one of the birthdays for the Queen, and I'm like, I've been in there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Fascinating. They dumped us off. The one time I was there, I was 17. They dumped us off on Piccadilly Square and let us loose. And that was just an amazing thing.
Well, have you been inside the Abbey itself?
Yeah. Especially, I remember the most down in the basement with all the different famous poets and statesmen.
Yes, you're right. I've seen that
inside of there.
Yes. Have you gone up to the Anglican seat of authority there?
Yes.
I sat on it.
I don't remember much of it. You sat on it.
Yes,
How
they
about,
let me.
did you
Huh?
sit on the Royal Stone, the spoon?
Yes, yes. That
Now,
was, I'll tell you, that was a very nice trip, and what you call it was there, and so I got an opportunity to check it out. And that would not be the first time I've done that. I've done the same thing over at the Basilica in St. Augustine. Bishop Schneider was then presiding, and they took down because they have around their altar area where the bishop sits and all of that stuff.
mhm,
There's a rope around that area, and you can't just
yeah,
go up there.
that's true.
And they took it down, and I went up there. I'm like, this is cool. I plopped right in the cathedral.
Yeah, I'm surprised that they would allow you to go up there. But I was wondering,
He
and I
was
think
because
probably
he was
anybody
there.
else listening to this is wondering, did you get the opportunity to wrestle with the Queen?
No, gosh, you're talking about no. She she was a very sweet, very inquisitive individual, and so was other members of the royal family. And they ask about your life, they ask about your family, and they really inquire about the United States over there. That's why I say England and the United States is very joint together at the hip, in many ways. And that was demonstrated in World War One, World War Two, and a lot of the other conflicts that we were in together. And so I really came to understand that when I went over there and saw how we were treated. We were treated literally as celebrities. You get limousines going from one place to the other. Bodyguards. I tell you, when going back to France, I got an opportunity to visit the D-Day exhibit. That was pretty cool, pretty moving. Have you gotten a chance to visit that?
Yes.
I mean, they got all kinds of headstones from almost sea to shining sea, essentially.
Yes.
And stars of David's, crosses. I mean, it showed, look, people went in there, they died.
The
And
battlefield of the Bulge.
yes,
There's an
yes.
incredible monument there. But there were some countries where we just were not treated very well because we were Americans.
Hmm.
And that was primarily in South Germany. There was, at that time, still quite a lot of Nazi sentiment.
Hmm.
And,
We didn't experience that.
well, I think I probably went over there 20 years before you did.
Hmm.
So I would think, the generation might have changed. And
That's possible, exactly. I mean, they treated us very well in Germany. I went to Ramstein,
mhm.
Germany, and the thing that really I loved about Germany was its candy.
Candy?
Yes, its candy is what I loved. Now, of course, I'd love to go over into East Germany and see some things in East Germany, like the Brandenburg Gate, stuff like that. I would love to have seen that, but that wasn't happening.
I went into East Germany at that time, and
Hmm.
it was still shambles, and there were still guard towers up. And on into
Wow.
Prague and Czechoslovakia, they still had
Hmm.
guards and towers on the streets, and everything was gray and dirty,
Wow.
torn up and run down.
Right. And
And
I got a chance to go into Romania afterwards.
mhm,
Okay. And you could still see semblance of what you're talking about. I went to, they had held an event in a building where they used to have all of the Communist Party meetings in there. And to go in there and actually see all of these young people from different nations now in this place where the Communist Party that had basically ruined their country, now seeing them enjoy freedom, that was something to see.
they were also big army partners with Germany during the Second World War, as you know.
Yes.
A lot, thousands and thousands of troops came out of Romania. And then
Hmm.
same thing when the Soviet Union came in afterwards. whatever was left of those people in Romania, they had to go into the army for the Soviets. And
Exactly.
you remember Ceausescu?
Yes, I remember. I remember when they killed Ceausescu.
Yes, I do too. He deserved it.
Yes, he did. Nikolai Ceausescu and his wife were
Mhm.
brutal dictators, and they really did those people wrong. When did he come to power? 1960, if I'm not mistaken.
I'm thinking that it was about then. Let me
Hmm.
see. It doesn't seem like it was that long ago that they were finally assassinated or
Yeah, they were
murdered.
killed in 1989.
89. Okay.
Yes. Yeah,
So
they were
yeah, I
killed.
think that he was in there ever since the 60s, maybe even
Hmm.
the early 60s. He's been
That's
there
what
a
I'm
long
thinking.
time.
And he had to go. And I mean, did you hear if you go, there's a video of it, or there's a tape of it, and you can hear the carrying on, and they both of them, it was just, they were just like Saddam Hussein. And they would carry it on, and I mean, the language that both sides were using before the shootings happened, it was terrible. But I could understand. I mean, they told those people, and this is what I worry about concerning what we're dealing with right now. These people are promising these kids that they're going to have equity, they're going to have their free health care, they're going to have free college, they're going to have free this, they're going to have free that, but nobody is thinking about these particular countries like Venezuela, the people that were in the Eastern Bloc countries, and what that's going to look like. What
That's
is that
really
going to
what's
look like?
scary. And they're just not old enough or savvy enough in history
Mm-hmm.
to know about these things.
Exactly.
There's a big fear.
And some of these countries, like Spain, Spain is a socialist country.
Yeah.
Okay. Spain is a socialist country. And we went to Spain, Barcelona. I went to Barcelona to compete. And I thought that Spain was a very nice country. We would get together with people, and I don't know do you remember when they rebuilt the Nita de Pisa and the Santa Maria?
No, I don't.
They rebuilt them, and they were manned by members of the Spanish military. Very nice people. I got an opportunity to talk with some of those people and get to know them. And we asked questions. I mean, these countries gave us free access to their people, and their military officers and things like that. And they talked to us, and we got a chance to talk to them about what life was like in Spain. And I asked a question about the Nazi salute.
Hmm.
And they told me that in Spain, you realize that you go to prison for doing that right now?
No.
They will lock you up in Spain then, and they'll surely lock you up now. That is forbidden. The Horst Wessel song,
Yeah.
that is forbidden in Europe. Yeah,
That's surprising because Spain was pretty active on the side of the Nazis at that time, even
absolutely.
though they were supposedly neutral.
Exactly. You know the phony war? You remember the phony war?
Yeah.
The phony war, that's where they tested out all of the weapons that they
Mhm.
used in World War II in Spain.
In Spain
Exactly. And
with
so Spain
Franco.
huh?
With Franco.
Yes, absolutely. Francisco Franco. I got an opportunity. I don't know if you have ever seen in our tours over there. I don't know if you've ever seen or put your hands on a conquistador armor. Have you?
Just the sword.
Oh,
The
just a
real
sword.
thing. Just the sword.
I got an opportunity to put on the helmet, the breastplate.
Is that right?
Oh, that was just outstanding. You know that the Indians, when they would see the conquistador coming, they thought that the conquistador and the horse was one piece. You realize that?
Yeah, I
They thought
remember that.
they thought it was one piece, but that stuff is heavier. They are heavy. It's heavy. I mean, it makes my robes of office feel light.
What was that made out of? Iron,
Oh, yes, it is.
nickel,
Huh?
iron. I would think it would have to be iron to do any good. It must
Yes,
have
because
been.
they would have to, but yes, it did. And of course, it had chain mail and all that stuff.
Right.
And they would have to buff that stuff out because, you had just so many. And think about these countries that they came into that was hot climates. I don't see how they were able to win anything.
Me
You
either.
would just fall to pieces right under that heat. But they have the helmet, they have the visor that came down across the face like that. I mean, it's just amazing the technology that even then they use for war.
Well, even in our time, the American people going into Iraq and
Mm-hmm.
wearing all that heavy, heavy equipment
Body armor and
and
stuff. Yeah.
the clothing that they had on. I've heard testimonies of how some would just fall down with heat sickness because they had so many clothes on.
Yep, exactly. And it's amazing because usually in that climate, you could wear a lot of clothes and be fine as long as you allowed for the body to breathe. You know what I'm saying? That's why the robes are worn so often over there, you know?
Oh, I see, sure.
And so I went there. I got a chance to go to Spain. Now, have you ever been to Italy?
Switzerland, but not that far south.
I got a
Italy.
chance to go there. Have you ever seen got a chance to go into the Colosseum?
In Rome,
Yes.
that thing was built with Jewish slavery and Jewish financing.
And Jewish blood. It was filled with Jewish blood, built with, you know. But at the time that we went, they were doing some construction there, so we couldn't go in, but we could see it from the outside. That's something that I would have loved to have done. And then you get to go and see. Those one of the things I noticed over in those European countries, their streets are very narrow.
Yes.
Very narrow. I mean, we couldn't imagine in Miami streets being so narrow, but they are. And you go into these streets and you see this is the home of Benito Mussolini or Adolf Hitler or Francisco Franco or the various kings of these areas. And it's like, wow, how could so much talent go to waste? Now, I've never been to the Vatican. How about you?
Didn't get to Rome at all, but I think my favorite place in the whole of Europe, and I think we went to 17 countries, was in Belgium. Just a
Ah,
beautiful place and very quaint, and that's where I had my first glass of wine.
okay. Which one of you? One of those kings that they still have the royal um, um, set, and they still take care of it, and you can still see it today.
The royal what?
The crown, the robes.
Oh, well,
That person.
each of those countries, they were kingdoms at one time or the other, and
Hmm.
some of them still might be. So I don't
Yes,
know if there's a particular one.
I know that over there. I think one of the Leopolds might be. I don't know who's over there now. But I think one of the Leopolds, but I tell you, when I went over there, it was still there. And so those areas over there are rich with history, rich with
Oh,
tradition,
absolutely.
rich with so much. And to think that it could have all been destroyed if we don't win World War II.
And a lot of it was through the world
Hmm.
wars.
Exactly. Have you ever gotten the chance to go and see, like for example, in London, you see where they have the kings and queens buried, and I
Yeah,
went there looking for what's her name, the one that that she was a big mouth, and then like what, forget this, let's just cut her head off now.
Queen Mary, I think.
Yes, and she was arguing with the people. They're like, all right, come on over here, put your
Mhm.
head down, and let's be done with it.
Just be
Nah.
done with her.
Yeah, and she's standing there arguing and carrying on. And I don't know whether they used the axe or whether they used the sword. Probably the easiest thing would have been to use a sword and say, you know what, goodbye, you're out of here.
I think that she was called Bloody Mary because
Yes.
had come in and tried to bring Catholicism back and had the Protestant clergy all killed and everybody else that would not conform back to Catholicism. And finally, they just did away with her.
And then you have the War of the Roses exhibition.
More religious wars.
Huh?
More religious wars.
You think that was a religious war? I thought it was a secular war, if you ask me.
Well, tell me about the exhibit.
The exhibit is a nice exhibit. They have you know about Richard the Lionhearted, you know about Edward the Seventh. Now, there's a controversy there because Elizabeth Woodville, you know who she was.
Yes.
She was married to Edward Plantagenet. And for whatever reason, they did not want those children to succeed to the throne. As a matter of fact, I think those children were killed. What do you think?
Probably. I can't remember.
You think Richard did it?
You're getting in too deep for me.
You didn't think Richard did it or had it done?
Probably.
But they sure got Richard. I think Lord Stanley's Cheshireman took care of him. And Lord Stanley was a sellout on both. During that War of the Roses between the House of York and the House of Lancaster, he must have switched sides 2 or 3 times.
He was like a double agent.
Yes, I thought. I mean, he was just terrible. I don't know, but finally they got it settled down, and then you end up with Henry VII, and of course, Henry VIII and the Star Chambers. But I really enjoyed the history of England. It's so much of our history, and you see why we had to get away from them in some way, shape, or form. But just going down Whitehall, just going into the Admiralty, and talking with the people there, just getting a chance to view the House of Lords and the House of Commons, just getting the chance to do all of that, it was worth everything that I did. Now you think about this. I don't experience any of these things if I don't have something that will take me over there to experience these things. Take me to Germany. Take me to South Korea. I tell you something else. Speaking of South Korea, have you ever been there?
No, never been out that side of the world.
Don't go.
South Korea?
It's okay. I liked it, but trust me when I tell you, we had to bring our own water. Oh. They didn't want you drinking the water there.
Sure. And
it stunk.
Their water stunk?
Yes, it stunk. Literally, the smell of the water. Ugh.
Couldn't be much worse than here in Florida.
Oh, what's going on with Florida's water?
My water stinks to high heaven. I can't drink it out of the tap. It's too horrible.
Wow, what kind of water are you drinking?
Comes from the sewage plant. Water that was once pee. Florida water is famous for smelling terrible. You lived here for most of your life.
40-something years.
Yeah.
40-something.
Maybe it was better down your way than it is.
It probably was. Now, there's some places in Florida that I've lived where you could tell that there's something distinctively wrong with the water. But I think I grew up where the water was a lot better. But when I moved back there, I'm like, ugh, this water stinks. So we started drinking bottled water.
That's what I drink, unless, of course, I'm just taking some pills or something.
I don't even fool with it no more. I mean, things have changed in down that way. That's why I told y'all to consider moving up this way. There's a lot of people that have moved up this way.
I'm planning to.
Oh, you are planning to?
Yeah, we went through, Trelly and I went through another one of the hoops that we set before us in the immigration, and it looks like she might get here within the next couple of months. And
Uh-oh.
so we want to go tentatively now come up there at some place between Cleveland and Knoxville. And so we'll see just if that happens. I mean, I've been wanting to come up there for 3 or 4 years.
Yeah, exactly. Well, by the way, how was our brother,
Which one?
Lee?
Well, he had kidney failure, as you know, and he got out of the hospital. He had dialysis. Only 2% of his kidneys are working now. No sooner did he get out than they had to put him back in. And now he's, from what I've heard, he's staying at his mother's. His mother's taking care of him again. That's been probably a week or 10 days, the last time I heard.
So they have him on his dialysis permanently?
He's got to go in for dialysis. Yeah, he's got kidney failure.
How many times a week is he going in?
No, I can't tell you that because I haven't heard that. And
Okay.
Of course, I can't get him to answer me on anything. So
Yeah, well, just pray, and that's just pray, and hopefully this could turn around. Maybe he'll be able to get a transplant.
Yeah, I've got this information through his sister, and as she said, he's still kind of hiding out. He's not really contacting anybody right now. And even she couldn't get him to send back a message about it. So we'll hear something pretty soon.
Yeah, that's all we could do. But I think that going back to our topic here, I think that, if you have something, if you have a talent, and I think I did with athletics, I had that was able to take me, and those were, somebody asked in one of the comments, what was the most exciting time of your life? And I believe that being able to travel to different countries, to experience rich and different histories other than my own, was awesome. The last one I guess I want to talk about is when I visited South Africa.
Okay.
Because I think that going over to South Africa, it was a big deal for me. I'm like, okay, our people come from Africa, and
what was the purpose of your trip? What was the purpose of your travel?
Same thing. I was going to participate in an international wrestling tournament. And so I get off of the plane, and dumb, stupid me, I get down on the ground and kiss the ground like a dumb idiot. I saw the pictures of that later on. I'm like, I threw them away. I'm like, what an idiot.
Yeah.
What an idiot I was. I'm like, oh, it was a moment, and I'm returning to Africa, man. And I'm like, what a idiot. I threw those pictures in the garbage.
Well, I can imagine at that stage of your life that, and your grasp on history, that you probably might have considered that the land of your ancestors.
Yes, yes. But I thought it was overdone. I thought I overdid it. You got down there, get off of the airplane, you get down there, and you remember how when the Pope used to get down there and kiss the ground everywhere he went? You remember that? And I guess I might have got something stupid like that from there. But I thought it was very stupid. But Africa is rich. Zulu tradition and the battles of the Zulus and the English, and I saw something on how they fought and how they gave the English fits for a long time.
Oh, yes.
And finding how that ended up, and of course, the stories of apartheid and stuff like that. And I went there just as that was about to come to an end. And so that was moving. That was, of course, when international people visit, is shh.
Sure.
Don't say nothing. Shh. Don't do nothing stupid. And this is on both sides of the aisle, because they warned us to not go out at night, to not be alone. As a matter of fact, in a lot of these places that we went to, we were always accompanied by somebody from the embassy, somebody from the Secret Service of whatever nation. And you have to be careful, because when you come in, especially some of those Eastern Bloc countries, you're monitored. You do know that.
Yes, those were scary days in Africa.
Absolutely. You are monitored. Same thing in Africa. You are monitored. Same thing in England. You're monitored. Same thing in France. You're monitored. West Germany, you are monitored. Okay? And certainly so if you go into Romania, Czechoslovakia, Bulgaria, places like that. It was obvious in those places, but in other places it wasn't so obvious. And so you had to be, one of the things they always told us, to be careful that your behavior is not able to be questioned by anybody in whatever that country is.
I remember going into the communist countries back in those days, and yes, you were being followed, you were being monitored no matter where you went. If you would go off by yourself, then you would have to take responsibility for yourself.
Now, they told us
in Haiti, I left the group and went out into the city in Port-au-Prince by myself, and I didn't get back till 6 o'clock in the morning. Lucky to get back then, but dumb kid stuff.
Right. But they told us under no circumstances are we to, and they had people there, staffs in the hotel. And I'm going to tell you, you know where the most of the monitoring happened? In and around the hotel. That's where your main monitoring happened. Okay? You think you by yourself, they have bugs in those places, everything, even in allied countries. So we were not to go out at all. And same thing. So we went over to Africa. We enjoyed meals, wonderful meals. We enjoyed wonderful hospitality. But you have to remember what kind of country this was. While it was changing, it was just before the change took place in '94. So you know that we were watched.
Did you get sick any place?
South Korea. South Korea. South Korea. That's the only place that I've ever gotten sick. But it wasn't that it wasn't that bad. It was all pretty much a stomach virus.
Yeah, right.
You know, some of the things that you eat over there can have a adverse effect on you, and you could stay on the toilet.
Absolutely.
You develop a toilet demon.
Yes, I got sick several times going through Haiti, and it was some bad stuff.
I mean,
from water.
Yes, exactly, and that's where a lot of it comes through, is water. And that's why, you know, whenever we traveled, we brought our own water from the United States, and that's how, and that was passed around, and that's how you drank your water and things like that, because there are certain countries. There's a reason why in Europe they drink wine.
Of course.
There's a reason why, because their water is horrible over there. And I wanted, it's nothing wrong with it. I took it. I tell you what, that toilet demon was off the chain.
Well, I know, and you think about the poor people in some of these countries that have to drink that water all the time.
Exactly.
Or their only choice they have is to boil it. And you know that they're not boiling it. And like, again, in Haiti, you would see, like around back of buildings, you would see big splotches of diarrhea.
That's correct.
The place where people would go back there and let loose and come back out because they were all sick with some kind of water poisoning.
And the same thing if they were to come here. The same thing would happen.
Probably.
It takes a while for your body, depending on where you are, to adjust to the food, to the water, to the way things are, you know? And so we've had to do that a couple of times. But I think the most thing that I've had to adjust from is going to South Korea and going to South Africa. By
Those are
far,
completely different cultures than you're used to.
yeah, exactly. And that's a long flight to either of those countries.
Mm-hmm.
Long flights. Both of those flights are very long flights. And so it's a very, like you said, very different culture, very different way of thinking, very different way of doing things. And so we adjust ourselves. Your body will always adjust, but it always has to adjust back when you get done. So that's my international travels. Oh, have you ever seen a guillotine?
Yes, I have. Scary. A lot bigger than you would think.
Well, you do know that they used to use the guillotine in this country, correct?
In this country? No, I
Yes.
didn't know that. I knew they banned it from France at one time, not that long ago.
Right,
They were
exactly.
using that for executions for right into our modern times.
Absolutely. Same thing with Germany. I don't think Germany used the guillotine. I think that Germany used the European Execution Acts.
Mm-hmm.
So they were killing people in Europe that way by beheading for a long time. This
Yeah.
is nothing new. But there is an exhibit in St. Augustine at the old jail of a guillotine. But it looks different from the one in France.
The ones in France are very high,
Yep.
very heavy, very scary.
Mm-hmm.
They say that the head, when it's lopped off, lives on for at least 30 seconds.
That's correct.
Now,
A scientist did an experiment.
I remember that experiment.
And he said if he blinked his eyes and like blink, I'm like, well,
That's
he
right.
dead now. He dead now. Pick him up and put him in the grave. That's amazing.
He said, like the scientists did it on quite a few, and at least the one. Beforehand, he said, I'm going to ask you if you're alive and blink this particular eye.
And he did.
He did. He blinked that one eye, so he still had some muscle control.
Wow.
But that made me think, I mean, how horrible would that be? Maybe it wouldn't be painful. I don't know, being so quick and all.
Well, exactly. I mean, I just can't even imagine. And that blade travels a long distance, and so you have to think about that: a long distance up, and then it's very quickly.
And you hear it coming down.
Yep.
That's amazing.
I mean, that's just crazy. It's just crazy. I mean, some of the I don't know. I'd like to get an opportunity to just go into a museum where they had all these different ways to kill people.
I'm sure there is one someplace.
Yep, I bet you they'd have that in some criminology class where you studied executions and stuff. Like I didn't. I did study one execution. I documented one for a paper in class, and you go through the appeals process, you go through the serving the death warrant, and then the execution, and then the postmortem after the execution. So I got an A on that paper.
I remember, yeah, I've seen at least pictures of old Sparky.
Yes.
The electric chair. I can't imagine a worse way to die than that.
Oh, yes, exactly. And it doesn't look nice, and it doesn't smell nice either.
No.
And by the way, Tennessee, I told you, Tennessee this past winter, they killed 3 in 1 month.
How did they do that?
Electrocution. Yep.
Was that by choice?
I'm not sure.
I'm thinking that these days they give the prisoner a choice.
I'm not sure, but they showed Thursday night. All 3 of them was on a Thursday night. Killed them dead.
Same time, huh?
Huh? No, they did them at different times, different days. But for a while, we had an execution Three of them. In 3 weeks, we had one a week. 7 p.m.
Did they sell tickets?
I know.
Nothing like that.
Could you imagine? See, Tennessee may do something like that. You never know.
Yeah, right.
I think Bill Lee's locking them up and frying them up.
No, none of those ways appeals to me. That's for sure. It seems like at least chemical execution, you could do better than what they're doing. You know, putting in some kind of a painkiller and then sending in salt to just stop your heart.
Oh,
that would be horrific.
Right. There was a Twinkie killer. This guy that they sentenced to death, he figured, okay, I'll fix them. I'll get so fat until I won't be able to fit in the electric chair. They said, no. This execution is going to happen. They adjusted that chair, and they put this guy down there. They turned on the switch, and it took them. They literally fried that man alive.
Fried him.
Yes.
Oh.
They had to stop the executions for a while after that. They fried this man alive. It was ugly. It was ugly. So, yeah, we've come a long way. We got a lot of faults in our country, but we come a long way. We definitely come a long way.
Well, our time is waning now. You have a statement or two that you would like to end up with?
Well, like I said, please join us every Shabbat, 11 a.m., www.yahad.com. And you could also check us out at www.yahadestn.org. If you want to be a part, or if you want to contribute, donate to this ministry, you may do so at that. You can use the name Bishop Daniel Ben Regesh to send us a donation, and we would put it towards the furtherance of the gospel.
Amen.
So if you want to do that, if you want to talk to us, please give us a call at 423-790-1651. We'll pray with you. We'll counsel with you. And we will make sure that you find your place in the kingdom. Amen.
Thank you, Bishop Daniel Ben Regesh. And thank you again for the wonderful message that you've given these last 4 times. You're getting a lot of playback. You're getting a lot of downloads for this. So maybe we'll have to do another one soon.
All right. Well, anytime. Just let me know.
Okay, brother. Have a nice night.